Your AR-15 might be banned sooner than you think. President Biden has just signed one of the most controversial gun bills in recent U.S. history, and it is already sending shockwaves through the gun-owning community. This is not a drill, and this is not speculation. The law is now official, and it could impact millions of Americans who own semi-automatic rifles, handguns, and other firearms that fall under the new restrictions. If you own an AR-15, an AK-style rifle, or even a common semi-automatic firearm, you need to pay attention right now, because the rules are about to change dramatically. The bill passed after intense political battles in Congress, debates that were marked by protests, heated speeches, and unprecedented public attention. Supporters claim it is necessary to protect communities from mass shootings and gun-related violence, while opponents warn that it is a direct assault on Second Amendment rights, threatening law-abiding gun owners with new restrictions that could criminalize weapons they already legally own. The language of the bill is complex, and even lawmakers admit that interpreting its full implications will take time, but early reports suggest the impact could be massive. Millions of firearms could be affected, and the uncertainty alone is causing widespread concern across the country. The bill targets semi-automatic rifles that resemble military-style firearms, which means many popular models like the AR-15 are now under scrutiny. There are discussions of mandatory registration, limits on magazine capacity, and even buyback programs in certain states. The law also introduces stricter background checks, enhanced penalties for violations, and new restrictions on accessories that were previously legal. For gun enthusiasts, collectors, and everyday owners, this is a nightmare scenario because it changes the very definition of legal ownership overnight. Social media is flooded with discussions, videos, and posts from gun owners trying to understand how these rules will affect them personally. Legal experts warn that the enforcement of this law will be complicated and uneven. States with stricter gun laws may move quickly to comply, while others may resist or challenge the law in court. Already, several state governments have promised to fight parts of the legislation, claiming it infringes on state sovereignty and individual rights. This could create a patchwork system where some gun owners are protected in certain states, while others face penalties for the same firearm in different locations. The uncertainty is fueling panic and frustration, and it has also triggered a surge in firearm sales as owners rush to secure weapons before new restrictions take effect. Gun rights organizations like the NRA, Gun Owners of America, and other advocacy groups have promised legal battles to challenge the law. They argue that the bill is unconstitutional and infringes on the fundamental right of law-abiding citizens to own firearms. The NRA has already issued statements warning gun owners to take immediate precautions, including reviewing inventories, securing firearms properly, and staying informed on upcoming legal developments. These groups are mobilizing members for advocacy campaigns, rallies, and legal challenges, signaling that this fight is far from over and could dominate the national conversation for months or even years. One of the most concerning aspects of this law is its ambiguity. Many gun owners are unsure which firearms fall under the new restrictions and which accessories are prohibited. For example, questions have arisen about rifles with certain cosmetic features, standard capacity magazines, and even aftermarket parts that were legal just months ago. The government is expected to release clarifications in the coming weeks, but the lack of clarity is already causing fear and uncertainty, with some owners considering selling firearms, others hiding them, and some even questioning whether to comply or risk legal penalties. The political context cannot be ignored. President Biden has long advocated for stricter gun control measures, and this law represents a culmination of years of policy efforts aimed at reducing gun violence. The signing comes after multiple high-profile mass shootings that intensified public demand for action, and it reflects the administration's commitment to tackling what they call a national crisis. Critics, however, see it as a politically motivated overreach that disregards constitutional protections and punishes responsible gun owners while doing little to stop criminals from obtaining weapons illegally. The tension between public safety and individual rights has never been more pronounced. Economically, the law could have major consequences for the firearms industry. Manufacturers, distributors, and retailers are already responding to the uncertainty, with some pausing production lines or reconsidering sales strategies. Firearms that were once highly sought after may lose value if restrictions are enforced, and the market for black market or unregulated firearms could increase, creating unintended safety risks. Investors have reacted with volatility in gun company stocks, reflecting concerns over reduced demand and potential litigation costs. At the same time, gun enthusiasts are stockpiling firearms, parts, and ammunition, driving temporary surges in sales that may only exacerbate public anxiety. For the average gun owner, the law brings urgent questions. What do I need to do to stay compliant? Which firearms are now restricted? How will law enforcement enforce this law? And what are the penalties for non-compliance? Experts recommend staying informed through official channels, documenting all firearms and accessories, and consulting legal counsel if there is any doubt about compliance. This is a moment where knowledge is power. Being proactive can prevent serious legal consequences while ensuring you are prepared for the shifting regulatory landscape. The cultural impact is equally significant. Firearms are deeply woven into American history and identity, and any attempt to limit ownership inevitably sparks intense reactions. Many citizens see this law as a threat, not just to their property, but to personal freedom. Discussions on social media, news outlets, and forums highlight the emotional and political stakes, with millions debating the implications of what some are calling the most aggressive gun legislation in decades. This law could reshape the way Americans think about firearms, ownership rights, and the balance between security and liberty for generations. In addition, the law could trigger increased political activism. Gun rights advocates are mobilizing members to participate in upcoming elections, lobby for changes in state and federal legislation, and push for judicial reviews of the law's constitutionality. Conversely, gun control advocates are using the law as a victory, building momentum to pursue additional reforms aimed at reducing gun violence nationwide. The signing of this bill could therefore act as a catalyst for broader political movements, influencing not only public policy, but also voting patterns and civic engagement in ways that extend far beyond firearms themselves. Enforcement will be a complex process. Federal and state agencies will need to issue guidelines, educate the public, and establish mechanisms for compliance and reporting. This process may be slow and fraught with legal challenges, leaving gun owners uncertain about what actions are required or permitted. Historical examples show that sweeping gun restrictions often face delays, litigation, and inconsistent enforcement, which can increase confusion and tension among the public. The coming months will be crucial in determining how this law is applied and whether it withstands the inevitable legal scrutiny it will face. For gun enthusiasts, sport shooters, and collectors, the bill presents serious concerns about the future of firearm ownership. AR-15, AK-style rifles, and other popular semi-automatic firearms are no longer guaranteed to remain legal under current definitions. Collectors fear that their investments could be devalued overnight, while families who rely on firearms for personal defense worry about the practical consequences of stricter regulations. The debate has become intensely personal for millions, highlighting how legislation can affect both daily life and long-term planning for responsible gun owners. Despite the fear and uncertainty, there are steps that responsible owners can take. Staying educated, documenting firearms, and consulting legal experts are essential. Remaining calm, following verified information, and avoiding panic actions will ensure compliance while minimizing unnecessary risk. This is not a moment for reactionary decisions, but for informed and strategic planning. How Americans respond in the coming weeks will likely influence not only individual compliance, but also the broader conversation about gun rights, safety, and constitutional protections in the United States. In conclusion, the signing of this controversial gun bill marks a turning point in American firearm policy. Its potential to restrict millions of legally owned firearms, reshape public perception of gun rights, and ignite legal battles is unprecedented in recent memory. Whether you view this legislation as a necessary step for public safety or an infringement on fundamental rights, the reality is that the landscape of gun ownership in America is changing rapidly. Awareness, preparation, and informed action are critical for anyone affected by these new regulations. This is a defining moment for gun owners and for the nation as a whole, and its consequences will be felt for years to come. The choices made today will determine how firearms, personal freedoms, and public safety coexist in the United States in the decades ahead.